The Neve Preamp and EQ collection bundle from Noise Ash Audio features the EQ modules you've always wanted in your DAW. But is this the only Neve you need? Find out more in this video. This is Alex Pro Mix. Let's go! In this video, we're going to do a plugin review from a company called Noise Ash Audio. The guys were generous enough to send me a copy of the bundle before the release, so I am going to show it to you for the first time. Before we begin, let's check out this song that's 70% there. We're going to replace some of the plugins that are on the session. Here we go, check it out. Okay, very nice. So we have a lovely instrumentation arrangement. So for our drums, we have just a traditional acoustic drum kit. Let's go ahead and solo the kick. All right, so for the kick, we're going to use the Neve 73 console EQ. Now, typically with acoustic drums, these are some starting settings that you can apply. First of all, use the gain to drive some volume into it. Gives you a nice little saturation. Also, you can scoop out the low mids, typically around right here, 360 hertz. This is going to cause two things to happen. It's going to cause the low end to really come out, and it's also going to cause the brightness or the attack of the kick to come out. So we might need to control that afterwards. Anyways, let's check it out. Here we go. Okay, that's a little too clicky for me. Okay, let's check that out in context. You can also randomize these channels as well. Okay, let's do the same thing with the snare. For this, we're going to use the Neve 81 console EQ, which gives you more frequency options here. With the snare, it's typical to boost the low mids to get more punch and then also crank up the high shelf to make it more intelligible. So we're going to use 10K with a high shelf boost. We're going to sweep around the frequencies, probably going to be around 180 where we're going to boost, and then we're going to cut somewhere around 300. So here we go. Okay, let's jump into a section where the whole drum kit is playing now. Okay, lastly, let's address these toms here. Okay, they're not very impressive sounding. In fact, we just have a little bit of send going to the H9000. Okay, just for room, but they definitely need EQ. So for this last one, we'll use the Neve 84 console EQ. And we're going to find any low mid frequencies to remove and try to add a little bit more attack and more bottom. So typical approach that we did with the kick, but maybe different frequencies. Check it out. Now, since we're cutting so much, let's crank up the volume. Yeah, so all that attack and all that low end just really become present because we're scooping out those low mids. Let's check that out in the track. Now, another thing that I want to do, since I'm not going to be compressing this, not at least on this video, is I'm going to use the preamps. I'm going to use the preamp called Trilogy. And this gives me three options, the 73, the 81, and the 84. We're using this as a saturator knob. So we're going to play around with two things. We're going to drive gain into it to get more compression or saturation, and then we're going to dial it back down to get the right balance. Right there, you start hearing out the resonance and the sustain of the toms because they're being saturated. This is before and after. The strings, these are virtual instruments, and we have this currently going on. And let's instantiate the Neve 533 EQ. This is typical to what you would find on a console, where you have highs, high mids, mids, low mids, and lows, and then you have your low cut. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to basically crank up the gain, find any resonant frequencies, and then smooth that out. Here we go. Now, typically when you're cutting frequencies, as much as I am, then you have to compensate by raising up the volume. There's also a random button down below, if you notice, where you can basically randomize the channels so they can be, sequential 1 and 2, channels 1 and 2 from a console. That's going to give it a little bit of variation, typical with any piece of analog outboard gear. No two channels are alike, or you can hit the random button. Anyways, let's go ahead and check this out with our acoustic guitars. Sounds very nice. Let's go ahead and play it in the hole. Lovely musicianship. We're not doing anything with plugins. All we're doing is using the effect sends going to the H9000. These are hardware inserts, basically digital reverbs. And a little bit of the harmonizer. Now, this has been around for a couple of years, but I want to feature it because you can now use the preamp section as a separate plugin. I'm going to use it all in one. So let's engage the preamp and fiddle around the EQ settings. Here we go. Right away, you get this rich low end that's classic with the traditional British consoles. But let's remove some of the mud. So the first thing I like to do when I'm approaching mixing is balance, balance, balance. Then I start attacking the quote-unquote balance by using equalizers, basically frequency balancing. And what we want to do is we want to even out the acoustic guitars. And for this, the first place that I'm going to go to is attack the low mids because they are a little bit overwhelming. So we're going to use this band. We're going to crank up the gain. We're going to sweep the frequencies, and we're going to decide whether we want high Q or regular Q, and then cut those frequencies. Here we go. Check it out. Now that right there sounds very natural, but we are boosting up the lows because we are removing the low mids. So let's control that with a low cut. Okay, cool. We'll leave it there. And let's find any resonant frequencies that are common with acoustic guitars, things that kind of ring out at you. So for that, again, we're going to hit the high Q and we're going to scoop and sweep and search around, hunt around the high mids. Here we go. Okay, let's check that out with the track now. So that's all the time that we have for this video. Thanks again so much for watching. I'll see you guys again real soon. Peace.